In 1993, two highly distinguished filmmakers, Annabel Jankel and Rocky Martin, got to bring popular computer game Super Mario Brothers to the big screen. Or Super Mario Bros. Whoo! Okay, I've never been a gamer, but gaming films can get real bad. They don't tend to have the best reputation. But recently my kids have been getting into Super Mario and are greatly looking forward to the new Super Mario film that is coming out. I've seen the trailer to that one and I gotta say it looks a heck of a lot better than this, because this was a bloody travesty. In all fairness, my kids sat through it. Even with me grumbling from time to time at various things, they sat through it. So maybe that says something. I don't know. But certainly I was not the target audience. I'll say that much. Now, as I say, I've been playing Mario with my kids recently. I'm not much of a gamer. I get bored quite quickly with computer games, but I have been getting into it a fair bit. So I can see a lot of the things they're trying to do in this film, but none of it is even remotely recognizable as being the thing that it is referencing from the games. A character pops up called Toad. That's it. Name only. It doesn't look or behave or do anything that the actual Toad character from the games does or looks like. It's just, there's lots of things like that just constantly throughout the film where it's like, oh, we're going to reference this, 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 but we're never going to actually show you the thing that we're referencing in the way that you would expect to see it, even remotely. Even Mario and Luigi in this, played by Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, that's actually pretty decent casting, I'll say that much. But they don't even get into the red and green until like the final quarter of the film. And throughout a lot of the film, you've got Mario wearing green and Luigi wearing red. And it's just, the whole thing is just like a weird, horribly made kind of low rent Blade Runner meets Tank Girl. Dennis Hopper is in this playing a villain, and this was in the period when Dennis Hopper was just, I think, cashing checks and not really putting it out of any great note other than Speed. I think Speed in the 90s was probably the only Hopper film that... True Romance as well, that's it. And that's just a glorified cameo really, but True Romance and Speed are pretty much all I can thank Dennis Hopper for from the 90s. This film also has some of the worst production design that I've ever seen. It's like, for a big budget release, for what would have been the biggest release that the weekend it came out, it's just... A lot of the production design is designed for the sake of design. There's no kind of practicality to much of it. Like you see police officers on the streets and their uniforms have these like spikes on them that they're not even metal spikes. They're not even like, it's not armor. They just look like rubber spikes. It looks like some weird kinky S&M thing going on with the police officers. That, again, like I say, there's no practicality to that being on a police officer's uniform. It just looks weird. It's just there for the sake of design. It's very dank, it's very grimy, and when you look at the Super Mario games, they're colourful. They have colours that pop, bright reds and greens and kind of fantastical lands with a lot of pristine beauty in them that you could imagine once it comes on screen. And this is just ugly. It's like the streets of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, but without the style. And it's grime, it's metal, it's gunk. It's not what I want to see in a kids film, in a family film. it's not doing it for me. The story is really plodding as well. You know, it's this adventure with Mario and Luigi where they go into this alternate dimension, and Dennis Hopper's villain, who's kind of Cooper but also Bowser, and you never quite know, are they going to take him towards being Bowser? It just, and at the end it looks like they do, but then they don't. It's maybe 5 minutes. It's just weird, but it's like you've got him after this rock that if he can use it for this meteorite, he can merge the dimensions back together, and it's just boring. It's dull. The story is as dull as the colour palette in the film. Half the time I don't care about what's going on, and when there is a moment to have an action sequence and at least make things a bit more exciting, the action's just really flat. Explosions just look like pezzy little fireworks going off. There's no real kind of adrenaline to any of the chases, the car chases or anything like that. It's dull, it's laborious, and I sit there wondering, how are my kids sitting through this? There are certain films I can't get them to watch and they'll sit through this? Really? I found this a painful experience, to say the least. You know, I recently reviewed Alone in the Dark, and I said in that review that I didn't really, you know, I wasn't a gamer, so I'd never played the game to Alone in the Dark, so I went into it purely on its merits as a film, not as a gamer. Yes, I've played some of the Mario games, but again, I don't care if they take liberties because I'm not so passionate about them that it has to be a particular way. I just want a good film, and this isn't it. You know, whichever way you cut it, whether it's faithful to the games or not, it's neither here nor there. It's just not a good film. I don't ever want to see this again, and I can only assume the new one that's coming is better than this. It has to be. It's sure as heck can't be much worse. That's for sure. Yeah. Super Mario Bros. From 1993. Have you seen it? Are you a fan? If so, let me know why down in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. Do check out my Patreon and member pages so you can find out what perks you might be able to get if you want to support this channel. And until next time, cracking.